Hey, thank you all for what you've said. It's interesting. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of sort of conversation around topics, and no one's really like talking from their own perspective, or sort of talking about their processing, or sort of getting at the real points of the mechanisms of what they're talking about. But I actually feel like also you all are such different people, and you're coming from such different backgrounds, artistically and emotionally, and I just was wondering if you would reflect, like, were there any things that each other has said that you found problematic, and if you could kind of reflect on that, that would be cool.
Well, I guess for me, it was this absence of a crisis, because even when you were just talking about, like, well, what is the crisis? Like, actually, in my opinion, the crisis, in like a very radical sense, is like capitalism, right? It's like why lots of things that I then later named as like what I identify crises as could be. And so from an emotional perspective, which I think that you wanted more, that was something, but where I thought, no, there is a crisis, there are many crises, and it's about where you see them and feel them and have to confront them and work through them, but I think I already said that anyway. Yeah, does that answer your question from my end?
Well, maybe that seems like also very pointed at one particular person. Are there other people, or do you feel like you've said anything, or I mean, even like the context in which we're doing this, like, I don't know, I think sort of stating problems might be an interesting way, and solutions also, but that can come later.
But I mean, for me, I think like stating problems just for the sake of it as well is a bit problematic by itself. I think in generally for me it was weird because the questions that we're talking about are very broad, right? And everyone needs to reach them through their own process, yet 2 hours are not enough to reach them. I like to walk through the process, But these are workshopping days for art in crisis, or how do we save the world, or I don't know. It's unreachable in 2 hours, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's another reflection is to do with just that, when art lacks meaning, it imports politics, and I think I maybe have a skepticism around just bringing people together and saying, like, find a point of crisis which is contextualized in the frame of like the ethics of cultural production, and yet at the same time, it's kind of not necessarily critiquing its own kind of mechanics, the mechanisms which involve. I mean, on the one hand, like we're four complete strangers, and we're invited into a space where there is also kind of certain violence in a way that you can edit anything we say out, so our critique is also limited, and then you have a lot of control, I think, and perhaps there is, maybe there's like there's this kind of emergence of a platitude again, which I feel like we have a limited degree to kind of break that, because it tries to produce knowledge on so many different subjects. But that's just a reflection, that's not. Yeah, I don't know that I have a feeling of like 4 positions or even 6 positions in the room which I'm going to walk away with. So it's hard to answer that question.
Thank you, all of you. I was interested as art as throwing a bomb. I think it's a very violent act, and for me it's a big question, because in our times, if I talk to artists in different fields, I think for me, there's a big crisis in a way that the value art have in the society is less and less. And then to say, okay, we have to throw a big bomb to do to do something or to make relevance. Also, if you hear Chantal Mouffe saying, yeah, okay, you have to, art is the possibility to open up a new way to create politics, I'm wondering, because I think we are all on this kind of thing, what is that? Also the artist, what is it? What is why we are still relevant in a society who, if you look around, saying we are the leftish hobbies or whatever. So I'm curious if you think about that you can say, I don't know if we need to throw a bomb, but what do you think? Because I think, of course, we all think art is relevant, but yeah.
Yeah, and if I can take that one, I think just to now, I think that it's part of kind of living with the contradiction of being an entitled artist. And I was thinking also like about Chantal Mouffe and sort of agonism, and I found a kind of like a systems way of thinking of it. And so in biochemistry, an agonist is actually kind of like a binding element, right? So it provokes, but it doesn't destroy. It provokes a reaction within a receptor, within a kind of given organism, and then it actually allows that to kind of to develop into another stage. And you can do that in a way that produces like an addiction, so like an external agonist would be like a drug, or you have these kind of internal agonists which are more like hormones, which are biologically there to allow you or to kind of get you to get into a certain like the fight or flight response, you know. So they're genetically there for survival rather than like to just kind of force the point. So I think one has to be super sensitive to that, but then at the same time, you know, it's a slippery path. I think that's why it's interesting. You know, it doesn't have a right or wrong answer.
But why do you think that art is less relevant? So in society, how come?
Why? I think it is a little bit like because I came from that. Now I get back to a little bit when I was a long time working in the Netherlands, and then 3 or 4 years ago, then it was really a big change from really the right capitalistic government came, and there comes broad discussion to say this all what the art field, because it was established a huge amount of a good structure there, and then they said, yeah, okay, this is all left hobby. And in the society in the Netherlands, there was not really any discussion about this to say, okay, this is not true. It was something like, it was like an ongoing event show, you know, that you can go and you have a nice evening. It was like this consumism that you go and you buy something, to a museum, and it's nice and charming, and that's it. And for me, I thought never that this would be possible. And then when I lived in this time, and that it was for me a completely shock. And when I came to Berlin, I was connected to Haben and Brauchen, and there was a lot of visual artists, and we discussed a lot about how can we make still impact in this certain kind of issue where we are not, as artists, only occupied, you know, with housing, you know, to the rents and everything. And then there was very happy about Coty & Co. But this is not an art project. It was and then they said, how could we make artwork that have the same impact than Coty & Co. And it was a big discussion about it. Because it was not about, okay, we want to do our own work, but it was really this, why we could not make this kind of impact anymore. And this is why I think I hear a lot of this kind of resonances around me, and I think this is the crisis, you know.
Yeah, there's several inherent crises that are. I mean, there's the educational crisis. There's the fact that there's basically too many of us, and there's also this kind of total neutralization of its political impact. I mean, there was a period in my parents' generation where Bob Dylan would write a song and politicians would actually give a fuck. Like, they would actually worry that there was content in that which had some agency, which, frankly, I mean, I'm not looking to do that either. I really think there's it's very problematic to go in and like, I'm going to make some agency art, and like, fuck that. I mean, you just get absorbed into another part of the culture anyway. So I think there are plenty of crises for art. I mean, you know, the biggest impact that visual culture has had in the last year is the meme culture of the alt-right. You know, no one's talking about that. This is actually reclaiming the visual in a way that we can't hope to achieve as artists. You know? What does that mean for visual art?
Anybody else from all of you?
Thanks for your contributions tonight. One thing that I would like to bring into the discussion is, for me, the current global crisis is one of environmental degradation, climate change, that goes into problems of migration and catastrophic events around the world, and yet we in the West have continued to partition these sorts of problems to other places, and they will continue to be partitioned outside of our realm as we're able to technologically deal with those issues differently with wealth, and yet we find it so boring, and it hasn't yet to come up in this discussion today as a real crisis at all. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think is it fair to say that it's to do with food shortages as much as climate change? They're so interrelated now anyway.
Also, the title of your book, Alex, you bring this Hawkins claim that in 100 years deviance is actually to leave the planet. And
Right.
are you also relating with these issues that just were mentioned here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an important point, and I guess it is contextual. Like, it is also a context. Like, its meaning and its whole discussion is so context oriented, and yet it's so completely global at the same time, which makes it another one of these like mammoth problems which we're not going to get through tonight. But yeah, I mean, Hawkins is supposed to be a celebrated mathematician, thinker, and yet he's deeply cynical about our capacity to take ourselves off of this kind of collision course. But then, in a way, like, his conclusion is quite positive, because he says that, well, the only thing that we really can do is get off the planet, and the only way we get off the planet is if we're kind of nice to each other. So there's a utopianism there too. Yeah, but I think environmental things also, if it's fair to say, do also run the risk of a certain utopianism.
Anybody else?
Another one?
Yeah, I just have one more. Is it almost done?
Please.
Okay. I guess I think sort of ultimately, like, sitting around and talking about all of this is really great and really interesting and important, but ultimately this guy in the video who, you know, is like, art is bullshit and I don't get it, is actually ultimately the one that we need to take with us on the spaceship, who might be the naysayer, who might not want to come with, you know, who might not understand, or who might not get it, you know, and so that ultimately, like, those are our audience that we need to take care of. And I guess the question is sort of, how tuned in are you to that And what do you do about it?
I mean, why does it need to be an art audience? Why do they need to be the audience to our art? I mean, that's, to me, incredibly limited. Shouldn't it just be that we're able to communicate our ideas in lots of different ways, and sometimes we do it through art, sometimes we do it through whatever, you know, any medium. I don't really think like people understanding art as a criteria to get on a spaceship to leave the planet is really relevant, really, at all.
But if your art's going to change the world, you have to change it for everybody and not just for the people that read your book.
Yeah, but I don't believe that art is going to change the world per se. I mean, it's not like a singular thing. In many ways, I mean, what's disturbing really about that interview is that he's so bright. Like, it's so cliquey, and I thought it was very generous of him to say that, you know, I don't go to art that much. I thought that was kind of generous, but his idea that football is somehow more democratic, I don't know if that really makes any sense either. I mean, it's the capacity to speak across problems, right, and speak across urgencies. That's what, like Sylvia Federici would say, for example. And yeah, I'm totally with you. Like, we have to be able to do that. We have to be able to speak across different subjectivities and different issues. But I just don't think that, like, when you load it up and say, like, it has to be art. I mean, art is like some, you know, maybe it's like a spiritual practice at the end of the day.
I think I enjoyed what he was saying a lot personally, really, because I think it's not about honesty or dishonesty or anything, but just I did one time a performance where I had comments like this one guy. And for me it was super interesting because what it's producing, it's kind of a negative space that for me I was holding on because it shows you a lot of things. So even if he thinks that he's not enjoying and he's not understanding, yet it's stuck in his head and he's commenting on it because it's, you know, so there's a relation in there, even if we don't like this relation, yet it's there. And this is important as well, because like, of course we have to be very communicative about our ideas, we need to explain ourselves as much as we can, we need to do art for everyone, but mostly as well for ourselves. So, I don't know, it's like, I think but it's just, it's like pushing boundaries do not have to, not everyone is going to like it anyway, and not everyone is going to understand it anyway, and it's just, I fail when I start to make it want everyone to understand what I want to say exactly, and I'm agreeing with it exactly, because then I'm a fascist artist, so, you know, I don't want to.
So at this point, the smoke machine is meant to happen, and it's not happening. So imagine. This is a crisis of theatrical apparatus.